Okay, this is a video to show caulking for around the perimeter of a room. I'm going to be putting tile on this floor, and in doing the prep on the subfloor, I am caulking the baseboard now. One thing that I wanted to show is that under this heating tube, there's a section of the baseboard where some mud has come loose between the wall and the subfloor, and if you look at that, you see that's actually a nail that's holding the bottom plate of the wall to the subfloor, and that's how large the gap is. There's a very large gap there. That gap had been filled with this hot mud that they filled it in, but this hot mud cracks, and very frequently it will pop up from these locations. I don't know quite why that gap. I understand why there's a gap between the wallboard and the subfloor, because that's the way they installed the drywall. Here, there's been an issue though where the bottom plate of the wall doesn't meet down onto the subfloor, and I can even feel the cold air blowing through. Today happens to be a very windy day, so this is a energy efficiency issue. This gets covered by the tile floor and everything, or any other type of floor, but I'm going to be filling this up with caulk. Now there are other areas where the hot mud hasn't cracked away. It's still intact, but there's still a gap underneath it. It's not completely sealing, so I'm just going to caulk all that too, but I'll leave the hot mud in place. Yeah, there are a few other areas where I'll probably put some caulk in. Here there's an interior wall, same story. This is just the space between the wallboard and the floor. I'll caulk that. There is also on this floor a gap between two plywood sheets. Now this is a gap where it doesn't hit a joist, so it just goes down into an empty space. I'm just going to caulk that so that when I put the thin set, because I'm going to put backer board, that it doesn't run down there. Now the thin set probably is not going to run down there anyway because it's a narrow gap. It'll probably just fill it. Other gaps, like between the tongue and groove, the thin set will just fill that in. Another gap here, which is between the plywood sheets on the joists, not tongue and groove, the ends of the plywood sheets, the thin set will just fill that in, so I'm not going to bother to caulk that. I'm just going to basically caulk the perimeter of the room. This one I'm not 100% sure on. I probably don't need to caulk that, but I might just, I have the caulk, I might just put it in there. Okay, I'll hit pause maybe and show this when I'm done. Okay, I installed one tube of this caulk, and you can see I was able to fill the gap there. I just kept plugging it in. The caulk I used was set for a smaller bead, but I just wanted to use up this particular tube. So I just plugged it in. I went all the way around the outside perimeter. I didn't bother to fill this like I described. Everywhere around the outside I filled it in. I didn't fill the tongue and groove gap. I did have enough, so I just filled in that little gap there. And I filled, there's a gap under the vanity. There's a gap that led under the shower stall. I just filled that up. There's another interior wall. I just filled this up. This is not really prepped for the tile. This is really just to seal off the space under things at the edges. I didn't want to have to rely on thin set to try to be squeezing it in under something, because the caulk gun, is set up for squeezing it into little gaps. And I also had this tube to use up, okay? Once you open them, they're only good for a certain amount of time. I didn't have any other purpose for this. Now I've used it up, I can throw it away. Okay, thanks.